I think it's one of the most beautiful public buildings in the country.
It has sort of a spirituality that's understated.
There's a feel, a kind of sense of serenity and simplicity.
He is one of the most important architects of the 20th century.
I think this is a huge contribution to our region.
It has the most beautiful proportions.
It's when you walk in and experience the peace and the beauty, it's captivating.
During a week of celebration and entertainment, Asia Society Texas Center opened its new architectural masterpiece in Houston's Museum District. One of only 3 Asia Society buildings in the world, this landmark multi-purpose venue, designed by Japanese architect Yoshio Taniguchi, is a unique cultural center that contains an art exhibition space, cafe, meeting rooms, and a 300-seat theater for the performing arts. The idea for an Asia Society in Texas began in the 1970s when a group of Houstonians realized the need for better understanding and cultural exchanges between Texas and Asia.
The mission of Asia Society Texas Center is to play an important role in bridging the different cultures, bringing Asia to Americans.
So we provide a unique opportunity to really prepare Asians and Americans for a shared future.
The more we know of different cultures, the better we are.
A small but determined group of like-minded individuals helped get Asia Society Texas Center off the ground.
Dominic DiManio was a very early supporter. Nina Cullinan, one of the great philanthropists in the city, was on our first board.
In the decades since its founding, Asia Society Texas Center has evolved into an important forum for international policy discussion.
We've hosted the President Jiang Zemin of China, Prime Minister of New Zealand, the Premier of Vietnam.
We felt our real focus was to try to educate people in this area about what was going on, the dynamism of Asia.
Houston and the state of Texas has seen a dramatic increase in the population of the Asian community. Houston demographics began to shift during the 1980s as more Hispanic and Asian immigrants moved into the region.
It's been amazing, the growth of the Asian community. My family is like many Asian families in this community. We came from China. We had a grocery store in the East End. Family all worked in the grocery store. My father had served in the U.S. Army during World War II. So we were kind of the first generation of our family to go to college, and raised in Houston by and large. Most of us still live here in Houston.
Houston is now the most ethnically diverse city in America.
And so today, Harris County is 41% Latino, 33% Anglo, 18% African American, and 8% Asian. And the Asian population is the fastest growing. So 250,000 Asians are in Harris County, Texas, according to the census of 2010.
Asia is really a vast place, and there are so many different cultures within Asia.
The stereotyping of Asians is that a lot of people don't know the difference between the Chinese culture, Vietnamese culture, Japanese culture, Korean culture. They all put us in the same category.
Yeah, we all have customs and things, but we all have feelings and shared feelings that are the same.
They're very proud of being Korean, being Japanese, or being Chinese.
Every country in Asia is represented in Houston.
They have basically the same goals, to have a better quality of life here in Houston, and we're hardworking, but also we're very humble.
I feel
every ethnic group is working together to build a better place for everyone.
Experts point to Houston's abundant job opportunities in the fields of engineering and medicine as a major draw for Asian immigrants.
Houston is at the center of the fundamental transformations of America, a new kind of economy where education has become the critical determinant of the opportunity to earn enough money to support a family, and a demographic revolution. This biracial southern city has become the most ethnically diverse city in the country.
The Port of Houston is the major port for the interior of the United States, positioning Houston at the crossroads of global commerce. Houston has the largest number of consulates in the U.S. after New York.
This is a city that is reinventing itself for the 21st century, and a very important piece of that is to be a major player in the global economy as a global city in the 21st century.
Asia encompasses a huge portion of the globe, and Asia Society represents more than 36 countries.
Well, Asia Society defines Asia as the countries between Japan and Iran, Mongolia to Australia, and Central Asia to New Zealand.
And you've got a gigantic part of the world with extraordinary energy and vitality, and now moving into a fully global economy.
While operating for years out of a small Houston office, the leaders of Asia Society began to realize the need for larger and more permanent exhibition and performance spaces.
All our programs were at different hotels, different auditoriums. We were just kind of a gypsy show going around to different places.
But they felt that they would really have a much stronger input into Houston if they had their own physical plant.
And we found that there was a very big need for a 300-person theater in Houston for a wide variety of cultural performances, not just Asian, but especially among, small Asian dance troupes or orchestras or other cultural performance groups.
With the large growth in the Asian population and the increasing importance of Asian relations, the decision was made to construct a new building to expand Asia Society's presence in Texas. The new facility would further Asia Society's global mission of promoting mutual understanding and strengthening partnerships between the U.S. and Asia.
You needed to have a unique place where we can display the Asian art and Asian culture and become a gateway between the two cultures.
They wanted a building that would reflect the region's Asian influence and contributions while being unique to Texas. The building committee interviewed several of the world's leading architects.
Later on, we invited down a few to Houston who also came and went through a battery of interviews with the committee, and we also had them interact and see the city and see the site and get their ideas about the site before the committee finally selected Yoshio Taniguchi.
Yoshio Taniguchi is an artist of a high magnitude, very demanding, exacting, and that's how he's earned his reputation.
So the process of designing this building was huge. Taniguchi is a perfectionist. There's so much that goes on in building a building of this sort.
But we wanted for that to be a very unique building, and that's what really the simple message we portray to Mr. Taniguchi.
It's the first freestanding building that Mr. Taniguchi has designed in the United States.
And I'm very proud that he was the architect. Being Japanese, I'm very proud of that.
Taniguchi had recently completed the expansion of the Museum of Modern Art's exhibition space in Midtown Manhattan, a vastly different landscape than the spacious Houston Museum District. When Taniguchi arrived in Houston to see the building site, his concept for Asia Society Texas Center began to take shape.
When I start designing some architecture, I always observe the site condition very carefully. So I came here several times before I initiated the project, and I studied very carefully what's around the site.
He got on a ladder on the vacant lot to actually see physically what the view would be like at a certain level of downtown, because he wanted to know how high the second floor would be and what the view would be from the second floor.
It was May 15th of 2008 that we had the groundbreaking.
Finally, plans were complete and construction began. His quest for perfection posed unique challenges for the construction company.
Everything had to be lined up perfectly in every direction, which required careful measurement and also careful installation.
Have another line that lines up exactly.
As construction superintendent, Norm Mullen's responsibility was to make it all come together.
There was no place to hide or to make a mistake, which, how fun is that? This is the best project, the greatest project you could actually tackle, because this is the challenge that you very rarely get a chance to do.
Materials used to construct the building came from all over the world. Jura limestone tiles from Germany, featuring fossils from millions of years ago, were precisely installed to Taniguchi's specifications.
Stone is always very hard, of course, hard material. But this particular stone gives a very soft feeling because of the nature of the color and texture. So I wanted to use this stone for this particular project to give more warm feeling.
Yoshio in Germany actually laid out 12 by 24 blocks of stone, and then he selected the pieces he wanted and moved out the pieces that were too dark, too light, and thus you get this beautiful blend.
Taniguchi numbered each stone tile and specified its exact location in the building.
You could not break a piece, you could not drop a piece. We could not order anymore, because ordering more stone would mean that you would probably get a different color, a different shade of yellow, and a different pattern in the stone. Each piece of stone had to fit in its own little home. Yoshio wanted all the ceilings to be like they were suspended. So there is a 1-inch space around every ceiling. Yoshio was very adamant about having all of his ceilings like clouds, like floating.
I mean, from times, obviously, architects could be difficult, but Taniguchi was fantastic. I mean, he knew what he wanted. His vision was very clear.
Taniguchi used computer simulations to calculate the angle of the sun at certain times of the year and certain times of the day to determine how far to extend the overhangs and how high to position the windows. The spacious building site offered the architect a unique design opportunity.
I thought it was quite difficult because it's not quite urban, also it's not quite rural. It's something very different from the site which I have experienced before, because if you design this architecture in the city, like in Tokyo or New York, there are many limits, such as very severe building codes, and also the relationship between my building and its neighbors and so on. But here is more or less free, because there's less constraints as I usually get from any other site.
4 gardens were included in Taniguchi's design, including the Water Garden, a second-story infinity pool that beckons visitors and provides a glimpse of downtown Houston framed through the window.
They told me there was going to be a water garden, which, when you're a builder, you're trying to keep the water out.
The weight of the pool and waterproofing required a very kind of complex structural system with no room for error.
I think the water garden overlooking the front from the second floor is one of my favorite parts of the building.
Water circulates around the edge of the infinity pool. Bubbling fountains and a special misting system mesmerize. After 2 years of construction, Asia Society Texas Center was ready for its official debut. The grand opening celebration featured art exhibits, Asian-themed performances, and the glittering Tiger Ball, held under a giant see-through tent erected over the parking lot. The fire marshal capped the list of attendees at 1,000. On Saturday morning, officials cut the ribbon and the building was open to the public. A major art exhibit during the grand opening weekend included 60 works from the Rockefeller Collection on loan from the Asia Society Museum in New York. Weekend visitors also toured the Asian Contemporary Texas Connections exhibition.
This is a show that focuses on artists primarily of national and international recognition that have a link to Texas.
Traditionally, the Tiger Ball has focused on a specific Asian country. And this year, we chose as the theme for both the Tiger Ball and the entire grand opening, Illuminating Asia.
It was very festive. We invited one of the great singers from Iran, Shahram Nazeri, here to perform.
Korean drummers entertained the crowds. The Hekeshi, a group of Japanese firefighters, arrived from Japan to be a part of the grand opening festivities. The tradition of the Hekeshi firefighters dates back to the early 1600s.
These Hekeshi groups, what they do is they're basically acrobats that are using bamboo, handmade bamboo, assembled poles and ladders to do incredible acrobatics.
All of this and many more exhibitions and performances will be happening throughout the day at the First Look Festival here at the Asia Society Texas Center.
Asia Society Texas Center's building inspires awe, calm, and surprise all at once. It blends into the landscape and at the same time stands out in its eclectic museum district neighborhood.
As an architect, it's a remarkable piece of architecture in terms of not only its spatial dynamics, but the beauty of its materials, which are very carefully selected, and Mr. Taniguchi's minimalist detailing, and then knowing what not to detail.
Part of the aesthetic of the building is the coordination of the center lines, from the walls to windows to tiles and wood paneling. Every center line lines up perfectly.
Right here is 1/4 inch on the panel, 1/8 on the walls. The same line comes down, comes into the floor line, comes over from the floor line to the center of this 1.25 inch aluminum bar, and it goes straight up to hit the same line. So you can see that how square and how straight everything had to be.
You come in, you're on the ground floor, you see the beautiful entryway, but you see the upstairs balcony, and it naturally draws you up there.
The moment you're going up the grand stair and you turn the corner and you walk out into this beautiful lighted hallway, and there's water in front of you. It's completely unexpected. And as you turn to go towards the central part of the building, there's more water. And it's just a plain of smooth, cool water. And I think it evokes a sense of serenity and tranquility that this building has that not all buildings have.
Following the Japanese tradition, the front entrance is hidden beneath a canopy. When visitors enter the Grand Hall, they will find a theater and cafe on the main floor. The second floor houses large meeting rooms and the art exhibition space. A distinguishing characteristic of Taniguchi's architecture is the richness of the space he creates.
Everything is, of course, very clean, very minimal. But because you have these different materials, it's not bland. It's very interesting and quite calming.
And the first thing you notice is the simplicity. And then you take a couple of breaths and you feel the serenity. It automatically, it just comes to you.
I was lecturing to a class today talking about the building creating a kind of neutral ground in which different cultures can exchange ideas and opinions.
Asia Society Texas Center is more than a building. It's a forum, a welcoming museum district destination that provides a variety of cross-cultural programming for the entire community.
I know the center has amazing performing art theater, and so there will be incredible performances coming out of Asian cultures.
We will have events that are community-based, but we'll also be able to tap into the global network. And there are a lot of artists and speakers and business people who are traveling the world, so we'll be able to incorporate them into our programming as well.
Well, I want the Asia Society Texas Center to become the key venue for educating our community about Asia.
Yesterday we had 180 middle schoolers here, so that was a full house, and so they learn about the arts and they learn about the cultural and social context in which a lot of that art is made.
I think we're going to start to see more government officials, more business people from Asia wanting to come to Houston, and we're going to be able to really do a lot to help strengthen those bonds.
We have a performing arts series, or we have a film series, so that will be continual.
I kind of view this as a place that would be more of interest to adults, the gallery space and the theater, but families are finding out about it.
We have family days as well, and those are themed by country or culture.
I mean, there's a lot of communities around Houston that can easily access this place, but the idea of how do you take things that you've developed here and present them in Dallas or present them in San Antonio, I think that's going to be a real interesting and exciting part of the mission of the Asia Society Texas Center.
Since its grand opening, Asia Society Texas Center has attracted thousands of visitors from all over the world.
This building is really, it's been described by many professionals as a Swiss watch. It's amazing what we have in this 40,000 square feet of space.
Well, you know, space often defines and expresses your feelings, and that's what I think this place does.
Again, we wanted to become one of a kind, something that you will not see everywhere you go.
There's no other city in the country, except perhaps New York with its Asia Society facility, that has one like this facility, although I think ours is better.
Asia Society has 11 offices around the world. Only Hong Kong, New York, and Houston have dedicated buildings.
I'm still in awe that we actually built this building and it came to fruition.
Houston was great. It had a tremendous can-do spirit. I mean, people were, of course we can do that.
Asia Society Texas Center provides the opportunity to experience and explore the vital relationship between Texas and Asia, the shared future that will affect the growth and prosperity of the region for many years to come.
So I think it's a dynamic time for the United States and our relationship with Asia.
Many people have tried to say that the 21st century will be the Pacific century, and as developing countries, that's where most of the action is going to be economically for the rest of our lifetime. That's important for America. It's important for Texas that we play a major role in that.
No city has been transformed as fully, as suddenly, as irreversibly as Houston, Texas. And it has now become the most ethnically diverse city in the country.
So the Asia Society Texas Center actually is a symbol of the city's diversity.
As the importance of Asia will continue to grow, this will be viewed as a great resource, and I think it will be the primary icon or symbol for our region's relationship with Asia.
I think Houstonians and Texans will truly embrace this beauty.
I think this is my favorite view because it shows this whole building and all the corners, all the lines that are lining up right here. And you can't find a better view in the building on the outside.
If people in Houston are happy with my architecture, I'm very happy.